Denver blowing a 20-point lead. Denver blowing a 20-point lead. Like, I'm shocked. I thought this was over. I almost hit send on a tweet saying that this was the worst 7-game series since the 2009 series between Miami and the Hawks because every game was a blowout. I nearly hit send on that tweet. I nearly hit send on a tweet saying that the game was going to be a blowout for Denver, but they blew it. As unbelievable as the Minnesota Timberwolves were on defense, as great as they were on defense, the Denver Nuggets blew this game. They blew it. No ifs, ands, or buts about that. The Denver Nuggets had this game in the bag and they completely blew it. The second half was 60-37. And literally in the second half, as great as Jamal Murray was in the first half, it was Jokic versus the other team. It was Jokic versus the Timberwolves. And Jokic was being forced to be a scorer. Every single time Jokic was there, Jokic was going at... When he went at Gobert, a lot of the time he had success. But when he was going at Cat, when he was going at Naz Reid, Gobert's help defense just forced him into taking those tough shots. He wasn't able to make the passes. He wasn't able... Because they denied everything. They denied every single pass. They switched everything on the wings. They denied everything. And then the only pass that might have been on was a dunker spot pass to Aaron Gordon, but Gobert hovering around there to block the shot, forcing Nikola Jokic into a high degree of difficulty shots on every possession. The fact that the Denver Nuggets continued to go with what wasn't working, I don't get it. They start on the fact they scored 37 in the first half. A lot of it was the start of the third quarter. They really struggled. A lot of it was the start of the third, and then in garbage time. They scored quite a bit in garbage time as well. So they were struggling badly. They were struggling real bad, but they didn't change anything up. They kept Aaron Gordon in the dunker spot for the whole second half to allow Rudy Gobert roam in there and completely take away their defense. Rudy Gobert is not guarding the perimeter. Put Aaron Gordon into the corner. Put him into the corner. He hits 2 shots, Gobert's out of the game. If he hits 2 shots, Gobert has to be out of the game because he's not guarding Aaron Gordon on the perimeter. He comes out to the perimeter. Aaron Gordon burns in, yams it on him. They kept sticking with what isn't working. And I don't understand why they didn't make the adjustment because the impact Rudy Gobert was having on this game. On the defensive end, they put in effort. I'm not going to lie. Christian Brown, KCP, even MPJ was putting in effort. Jokic and Jamal Murray were dead. Like, Jokic was just so tired. But none of them boxed out. Whether it was Gobert for putbacks, Naz Reid, Karl Anthony Towns, none of the Nuggets players boxed out. None of them got a body on them. And it was so, like, as great as the Minnesota Timberwolves were, as much effort as the Minnesota Timberwolves put in, when you are up 20 points in a game where your opponents are cold, you can win that game despite not playing great by effort. If the Denver Nuggets match the effort of the Minnesota Timberwolves, the Denver Nuggets win that game. They win that game. Without question, they win that game. And they blew it. They absolutely blew it. And like, I'm going to give quite a bit of credit to the Timberwolves. And I already obviously another video talking about the Timberwolves because I think it's best that we give the Timberwolves more credit than we give the Nuggets for blowing it. But both are true. The Timberwolves made things difficult for Denver. But Denver got out-hustled for the entire second half. Every time there was a ball to win, they got out-hustled. Even in a situation like when Christian Brown, for the jump ball, when the game was still just about a ball game, Christian Brown kind of knocks the ball out of Anthony Edwards' hands. He goes down there. There's 3 Timberwolves players jumping at it and just Christian Brown. Every time there was a shot went up, it was just almost a given that Timberwolves were getting a second, third chance. Because Timberwolves were cold. Minnesota were cold. And all it would have taken was someone to just put in that extra bit of effort rebounding. All it would have taken was that. But none of them were crashing the boards. Like, and it was, the fact is that it wasn't even the bigs. It was almost, a lot of it was weak side. Rudy Gobert out-rebounding Jokic Rudy Gobert just killed Jokic on the inside as far as rebounding is concerned. But the amount of weak side boards they got. Like, if you're Christian Brown and you're guarding Karl Anthony Towns, box him out. You are a guard guarding a big. If you don't box him out, they're going to dunk on you. How many times Naz Reid just went in on the weak side? Just went to the weak side and just open, nothing, dunk. Offensive board, kick it out, 3. How many times were they going to do that? Defensively, they were all over the place in the second half. They were all over the place. And if the Minnesota Timberwolves weren't so cold, this is probably would have been a blowout. Because the quality of looks Denver got in the second half were terrible. And they continued to go with the bad looks. They didn't get a good... I'm trying to think of how many really good looks they had in the entire second half. Jokic missed a couple of threes. But, like, again, Jokic, every time he had the ball, there was nothing else he could do. He was trying to pass. He was trying to do something. Other than sending handoffs, he wasn't able to do anything. He wasn't able to pass the ball like he normally can. The Minnesota Timberwolves cut off the best thing about Jokic, which is his passing. Made him a scorer, which he's a hell of a scorer. But he's not a good enough scorer to win you consistently. And maybe that's the way to beat Dallas. Maybe that's the way to beat Denver. But at the same time, it's very hard to put in like a way to beat Denver when you don't have Rudy Gobert. Like a very similar way to the way Cat played Jokic and Naz Reid played Jokic was a very similar way to how Dwight played Jokic. You just got to be physical with him. You got to force him into just make things difficult, and then you've got to have that rim protector in there to not allow single coverage, and also to just cover Aaron Gordon in that dunker spot. It was a brilliant performance by Minnesota, but a terrible second half from Denver. Like, I thought it was done. I thought it was over. And the Denver Nuggets, if the Denver Nuggets once they went up 20, if they were more careful with the ball, they win that game. If they rebound harder, they win that game. If they don't get out hustled for 18 straight minutes? Not even 18, it was like 10 minutes to go in the third and they stopped scoring. So for 22 straight minutes, they probably win that game. And as great as the Timberwolves were, as much as the Timberwolves did step up, at the same time, they blew it. Like, at the same time, it was completely blown by Denver. They absolutely blew it, lads. They blew a chance to getting to the conference finals, and they blew a chance to probably go on and win a second championship. And if they won a second championship, that's Jokic in top 10 conversations right now. And as well as Jokic played today, Timberwolves did not put him in a position to succeed. Denver didn't put him in a position to succeed. Mike Malone didn't. And like, he had a good game, not like a vintage Jokic game, but he had a damn good game, and Minnesota still came out on top.